Hi everybody. Today we're going to do a kind of a shorter presentation. Important stuff. Kind of ties us in a little bit to the core of what humanistic psychology is about. We're going to talk humanistic psychology as a more broader thing in the next video. But in this one, I want to kind of get at that part of humanistic psychology that has really shaped all other sides of psychology, and that's in the field of motivation. I mean, motivation is a big deal, right? Anybody that's ever taken like a learning class knows knows that motivation is at the core of it, because it's just what is learning? I don't know. I mean, will an animal do what it learned how to do? It depends. Is it motivated? Just because an animal learned to do something doesn't mean it will exhibit the behavior. So it's clearly at the core of of understanding many things. So there are two big ideas when it comes to this idea of motivation. One of which is almost a biological kind of a thing, and it's this notion of homeostasis. And this is a little different than the humanistic psychology one, which I'll do in a minute, but I kind of wanted to give you the two basic ways that motivation is addressed. And so this first one, as I said, is more biological in nature. Homeostasis is sort of like, from biology class, something like equilibrium or balance or something like that. And according to this notion, the idea is we seek balance. We seek order. It's an idea which we came across earlier when we talked Gestalt psychology. Remember, it seeks simplicity and ease and things like that. Well, here's the deal: is with motivation, according to this notion, is a matter of maintaining balance. All right. And so here is this little example here. It's kind of a silly example, but I'll go through the example and then explain why it's not exactly silly. It's like you set the thermostat on your house to be, let's say, 70. It's winter, perhaps, and you might want your house to be 70 degrees. Now, what's going to happen is your thermostat is going to compare. It's going to say, what is my current level of temperature? And it's, let's say, 65 degrees in the house. And it's going to say, what is my desired state? And say, oh, it's 70 degrees. I desire to be 70. I currently have 65, and now your thermostat is motivated to make the current state and the desired state match each other. Okay? And so what happens is your thermostat does what it has ability to do, which is turns on your furnace. Okay? And your furnace will then perform those, again, for a lack of a better word, behaviors which are intended to get in balance my current state and my desired state. And so what happens is, as soon as your current state, or the temperature of your home, goes 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, then all of a sudden, hey, my current state and my desired state match each other, turn off the furnace. Or more specifically, turn off the motivated behavior. Okay? Now this sounds kind of silly, but now let's bring it back, and let's say it's hunger. All right, here's my desired blood sugar level, here's my current blood sugar level, and if my current blood sugar level is below my desired blood sugar level, I'll be motivated to make the match. So what will that be? That means that my body will turn to different mechanisms, such as food-seeking behaviors, such as finding a candy bar, such as going to a restaurant. I will be motivated to perform behaviors that will minimize or get rid of the difference between current state and desired state. And once my current state matches my desired state, I will stop those motivated behaviors. And this idea is very cool, because it's not just for biological stuff like body temperature, right? We have a body temperature preference of 98.6 degrees, and if we're above 98.6, we are motivated to perform behaviors to bring us down to 98.6, and if we're below 98.6, we're motivated to bring ourselves back up. Okay, it's quite an interesting concept, but it extends also to psychological things, such as optimum arousal. All right, that is to say, I prefer a situation where my level of internal arousal is right here. All right, say for example, I grew up in Wisconsin, so my desired arousal level is relatively low. All right, relatively low. I mean, I kind of grew up with that. Then I went into Manhattan. I still remember the day I went into Manhattan. See, my wife, she grew up in big city, Seoul, Korea. Her desired arousal level is quite high. My desired arousal level is quite low. I still remember the day we got off the train in Manhattan. I start to go almost into a panic attack because my current level of arousal is so much higher than my desired level. Meanwhile, my wife says, finally. And she had finally found the level of arousal that she had been looking for years. So it's kind of a neat idea that we're motivated to make our current state and our desired state meet. And it's a big idea, very big idea. But the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to come back to Maslow's concept of hierarchy of needs. And I'm going to talk more about these needs a little bit in the next chapter. But according to Abraham Maslow, he says human beings are driven by needs that must be met. And we are motivated to meet those needs. And he says the first needs that we have, that we're motivated to meet at the bottom of this pyramid here, is physiological needs, that we need to satisfy our hunger and our thirst. And here's what Maslow says, essentially. He says, if you have not met your physiological needs, you will not care about the needs above it. Okay? In other words, if you're hungry, you won't care if you're not safe. Yes, people that are dying of hunger will do very dangerous activities in order to get food. Okay? In other words, they will sacrifice their safety needs, which are higher, in order to satisfy their physiological needs, which are lower. So, according to Maslow, we have no desire to satisfy needs up top until the ones below. And so as we see, first thing we need to do is satisfy our hunger and our thirst. Then we need to satisfy safety. We need to feel safe and secure. After that, we need to have more socially based needs. We need to have belongingness and feelings of love. We need to have a sense of self-esteem and competence and feeling of in fact, that lack of inferiority, right? That's Maslow's other thing. But ultimately, he says, all human beings are driven eventually to self-actualization. And self-actualization is sort of a need to live up to your fullest and unique potential. Now, I'm not at my church, they would make reference to your calling, your purpose. God gave you a calling. God gave you an existence. And this calling that they make reference to in a Christian church is really a good analogy for what this idea of self-actualization is. The purpose and need. Everybody has a different purpose, but according to Maslow, we're driven to meet that self-actualization, but we cannot do so until we meet the needs below. In the next chapter, next video, same chapter, different video, in the next video, we're going to flesh this out in more detail and find out how that actually might influence human behaviors a little bit, all right? So come on back soon, and we'll see you then.